What's up, sister? It's your girl Danielle, and welcome back to the Pretty Powerful Podcast.
But is it true? Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not an idiot. And when I saw professionals and I realized the way that my brain was wired, that my brain is wired differently, but different doesn't mean less.
Hello, welcome back. And today I'm so freaking excited because I have my bestie here. Tarah's in the house, and I wish you could see her right now. She's doing a little pop, lock, and drop it because that's how we roll. And I feel like you just have music in your head all the time. Which...
I do. Factual.
But yeah, so you're in for a freaking treat today because Tarah is not only my best friend, but she is one of the most incredible humans that I know. Oh, I'm not going to get emotional right now.
I was going to say, why are we making this an emotional podcast? It's like, now I am already going to cry.
Don't cry. It's so fun. But you have taught me so much. I've learned so much from you over the years. And yes, we've known each other since high school. That's an interesting story. So we knew each other in high school, weren't the best of friends, and then later connected as adults and then became besties. So anywho, I've learned lots from you, but my favorite thing probably, I shouldn't say my favorite thing. One of the greatest things I think about our friendship is that we are so different. Like a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, I don't have experience with. I don't know much about. I've learned things from you, obviously, but I think it's going to be really fun and exciting to like talk about these things because so many women that will be listening are going to be able to relate, and you're going to change their lives like you have so many people, because as the amazing content creator you are with all of your, I know you only say 500 people that follow you. It is more like lots of zeros after that 500. But yeah, so anyways, you're the bomb. I'm so excited to have you here. So instead of me telling everyone what you actually do, because in my mind, you do everything. Like I want to be you when I get older, but like you're a little younger than me. But anyways, because the mom that you are, I always say if I ever have kids, I hope that I am like half the mom that you are. Like you are just, anyways, I'm going to stop hyping you up now. So you can share who you are, what you do. Give us a backstory of how you got here today.
That low key did make me a little emotional, and I feel like I need to like put on positive pants and like not be so sappy. Gosh, okay. Who am I today? Like you said, I feel like that changes every single day. I feel like week by week, it's like, who am I today? But that's the beautiful part about being a human being is that we evolve and we grow and we always get to be somebody different. And doesn't mean that the old person was wrong. It's just we evolve and we grow. So who I am today, I am a wife. I've been married for 16 years. I have 3 kids with my husband. My oldest is in high school. My middle is in middle school. And my youngest is in elementary school. So it's a little crazy in our life with different schedules, different activities, different grades, just juggling all of that. But there is nothing else that I would want to be juggling. It's the best balls to try not to drop, which sometimes I do. Thankfully, I didn't drop them as a baby, like physically, but there were like low key times where I was like, how do people like hold these things? Because they're so slippery when they get out of the bath that like low key was a fear every single day. But yeah, I mean, gosh, I just spend most of my time trying to be a great mom. And then in the time that I have when they're at school, I am a content creator. So I do post, honestly, really only on TikTok. I really should be posting on other platforms, but people do be rude on those other ones. They're just not as nice. And because I have ADHD and I chase the dopamine, I only want to go where the nice people are. So that's why I'm on TikTok. But I just post life. It's really unfiltered. I told myself after a long time of a lot of people essentially begging me to get on TikTok, which I just thought, I don't belong there. I don't know how many people have thought that about multiple scenarios in life, right? Like, oh, I don't belong to be at this party. I don't belong to be whatever. I think a lot of times we uninvite ourselves. And so obviously that's what I was doing for a very long time because I kept thinking, why would anybody watch me on TikTok? I talk a lot. I ramble. I talk fast. There would be no niche. Like I can't niche down. It's impossible. Like you said, I have a different song in my head every day. My favorite color changes once every 5 years. Like, what do you want from me on that app? You know, but I kind of just learned after finally saying, F it without saying the word, because I can't cuss on this podcast. Just be yourself. Like, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It can just look how you look. And honestly, it's a little bit like a mess. And so that's just what I do every day. And I'm grateful that some people say they learn stuff from it and people share their experiences. And it, when you're vulnerable, it allows other people to be vulnerable. So, it's really cool. I think the coolest part about it is, not even the brands, reaching out and sending stuff. It's the letters that I get, that I literally will sit in my car as I'm sobbing, reading these handwritten letters from people, sharing their own experiences with me, telling me how it's impacted them. And I just sit there and mess, because I think that's all we all want in this world, is to be able to connect and not feel alone and have a community and be like, dang, okay, so I'm not the only one struggling so hardcore in my life right now. Like, there are other people out there that are going through the same thing. So I love what I do. I'll probably do it forever, in some capacity, but that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I got to go on record here. So this is noted, that I was one of the first people, maybe the first person. Okay. I'll argue with your husband, but I was like, Tarah, why are you not on TikTok? You belong on, like, that's what you were born to do, was TikTok. And I remember at that time, it was more the dancey stuff, the more like trendy sounds and things. And you're like, no, like that, whatever. And then it became, I'm going to blame you. All you people came into TikTok and you ruined it for the rest of us, because you made it all these cool stories. And no, I shouldn't say that. Your TikTok is amazing and it's very valuable and important. But those of us who don't enjoy talking as much, I wanted just the dancey stuff. And you people came in and shifted the whole thing. So good job for you.
Blame the millennials. I mean, we did kind of do that. I do still see some people on there that are dancing and like doing all the things, but your FYP is what you watch a lot. It's what you gravitate towards. So mine is always like 1 minute stories, which, by the way, if you are listening, like, I cannot sit through 1 minute stories. So if you hold your screen down, it'll go in 2x mode. That is how I watch all TikToks, is on 2x. Podcast, speed it up, 2x. And so the running joke on my channel is that you don't have to watch me in 2x most of the time, because I talk way too incredibly fast. And so I save you from having to hold your finger down. I'm doing, a service to everyone, because I'm trying to help you not have arthritis. We're using our fingers enough. So I just, one thing I can do to improve your life. But yeah, I think it's because a lot of people are searching for that vulnerability, right? Like, they're searching for that connection, and TikTok's kind of created a space where people can do that. So who knows where it'll go? Things always change and evolve. It might go back to like dancing only, shut your mouth, and then I'll be done. I won't have anything to say. So we'll see.
That's not true. You have a powerful community. So tell us a little bit about your community, some of the things that you share, and some of those letters that you get. Like, what are you connecting with people on, for those of people who haven't followed you yet?
It all started when I ruined a wood table. No, but for real, like, I got on the app and I thought, what do people post on here? I don't know. So I thought, I'll just post my real life. So by day 3, I had a whole, 100 followers, which was a real number, by the way, of actually 100. And by day 3, I just posted this video of ruining my kitchen table. And it's because I just went into this manic episode where my whole house was trashed. And normally I don't care because of my executive dysfunction. But then all of a sudden it clicks and I'm like, the whole house is trashed. You must manically clean it all at once right now. There is no other solution. So I manically cleaned my entire house. And I was looking at every nook and cranny that was dirty. And my eyes spotted my wood table, which it had food jammed in all the little crevices of the table from my crotch goblins. And so I got my steam cleaner out and I started steam cleaning my wood table. Well, I don't know if you know this or not. I didn't know this at the time. You can't mix steam and wood together because it turns white. It expands. And I was like, oh no, I just ruined my table. And it was one of the only nice things I had in my house. So I lied to my husband, not proud of it, but he's very gullible because he honestly doesn't know anything about wood either. And so he was like, why is the table white? I was like, it's a curing process. Like it stays like that for 3 days and then you refinish it. He believed the lie. So did I. And I refinished the table, but I vlogged the whole thing. The video went viral and somehow within 9 days, I had 10,000 friends and it just kept going because I thought, well, if they love that story, I should tell them another one that I just did about 2 days ago. And so I just kept sharing stories of the things that I do in my life, which are honestly tragic, but they were funny to some people because they were like, I live like this too. Like, this is my life. Like, you could literally be telling my own story. And so I just started sharing stories like that, the good, the bad, the funny, all the in between. But, the stories that I would start to share when it came to like my kids, like, I used to have stressful mornings. I used to have my kids being like, I can't find my shoe. And I'm like, what do you mean? You own 17 because we keep buying shoes because we can never find the shoes. So how do we not know where one pair of shoes are? And it was little things like that where I was like, I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to be in fight or flight all the time. I don't want to be stressed because it did remind me of my past. That's how I always was. I didn't have clean clothes before school. So I'm digging out because I went to a Catholic school. I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, but I went to a Catholic school where I had a uniform. So I had to wear a uniform. So I'd be digging out dirty uniforms and like, you just don't feel good, right? When you show up to school in dirty clothes that are wrinkled, and I just knew I didn't want a life like that for my kids. And so I started thinking to myself, okay, well, how does my brain learn? Because I'm neurodivergent and I know they are too. And it's not like a neurotypical person. You can't just say, well, just do it because you have to. And it's what, you do to build habits. I had to learn that we build habits differently. So I started laminating sheets with pictures on them. I started laying out clothes the night before and involving them in that process. I started making sure everything was done the night before. So when we woke up, we were not stressed. It was just, we grab the things, we do the things, we aren't in fight or flight, we walk to school peacefully, and it starts the day off better. And so it was little things like that that I thought, well, I bet I'm the only one that was late to this party as a mom, and everybody else is thriving and succeeding in life, and they're doing that because they have their life together. But when I would share things like that, there were moms that were just like, you just changed my life. Like, I've never thought to do that. Like, we are the shoe chasers. And so it was just little things that I had to start asking myself, what are you overcomplicating when it comes to advice if you could sit and talk to a mom who is stressed out? And so I just started sharing any little thing that I could, down to my D&L menu that I have for my kids on the refrigerator when it comes to school lunches, down to the night before, down to the evening routines. What does that look like? What does our weekends look like? Like, any little thing that I could share and freely give, I was giving. And I just randomly found myself with 450,000 followers in my first year on TikTok and thought, that's a little overwhelming and scary to think about. So in my brain, I just like delete some zeros. And so that's why I say I have like 520 friends, because for me, that's how I have to look at it. I have to look at it as like, I'm just talking to a friend right now. We're at each other's house. We're overwhelmed. We're overstimulated. And I want to talk to him like a friend, because if I think about talking to the internet, it's the wild, wild west out there. And sometimes, I will get a viral video every single week where millions of people watch it. And those comments will rip you apart. Like, they will tear you to shreds, and they will make you think that you are an idiot, you're less than human, and you don't have your life together because you need to have a stupid system in their mind. And so I just have to remind myself, my videos aren't for them. And that's okay if it doesn't serve them, but they are serving people that are just like me, and it's benefiting them. So those letters that I'm getting in the car are saying, we've implemented your school system and it has completely changed our life. I'm not a mom who yells anymore. I'm catching myself when I'm overstimulated, and I'm doing your breathing techniques, and I'm doing the butterfly hold, and I'm a better mom, And so it's just things like that just honestly give me chills, because I'm not qualified to speak in this space. I'm not a therapist. I'm not an occupational therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of those things, but I am a mom with lived experiences. And so I just remind myself that my lived experiences are valid. And if they can just help one person, and only one person, then I'm making an impact when I post a video that day.
Yeah, I love that. And I also love, and it also helps that you're hilarious. So you're like, let's be honest. If you were boring and you're like, today, here's my school system, that would be boring. But you get on and share all the crazy, the fun, it's enjoyable. It's a hard conversation, I would assume, to have with other moms that are going through that. But the way that you, like, your spin on it, the way that you make it funny, and it just makes, I think, people put their walls down, maybe, you think? That, like, that they just can connect with you, that So anyways, you said that, you can get, it's a wild, wild west, and there's some comments and stuff, and it can be overwhelming and all the things. So if someone's listening to this and they have something, right, that they want to share, maybe they want to be a content creator, they want to start a business, or they want, right, to do all the things, but they are stuck, stressed, overwhelmed, worrying about what other people will think. Like, what are some things that you would tell them to help them kind of get over that hump to just start?
It's one sentence for me, and it goes back to a triggering moment for me in my childhood. And I never connected the two until I went to therapy. I'm a huge proponent and advocate for therapy. Going to therapy doesn't mean you're broken. Going to therapy means you lived experiences that you didn't know how to process because you were just a child. And our brains don't fully form and function and think in the way that we think that they do, even until they're 22 or 23. So some of the things that you used to do before that age, number one, they're not your fault. But number two, our environments are everything. And so the way you are as a human being today says a lot about how you were raised. And so for me, I had to realize, I went back to this one moment in my life that I realized was a ripple effect in a negative way, but I never knew it. I never knew it came down to this, one moment. But sometimes we all have that pivotal moment that unlocks in our life that we're like, oh my gosh, that really must have hit me that deeply. And that's why I don't speak up. And that's why I don't raise my hand. And that's why I'm afraid to talk in public. And that's why I think I'm stupid, and you kind of go through all these things. And so it's kind of changing that one moment and going, I'm not going to let that moment be true anymore. And so for me, it was sitting in a kitchen table and I was really having a hard time with math. I grew up with learning disabilities. I knew from a very young age that I was diagnosed with ADHD. So for all the people, mainly boomers out there, but they're always like, everybody has ADHD today. And it's like, well, no, we don't. There's a lot more people that are getting diagnosed and realizing that they do have it. And there is an issue where some people are using electronics way too much. And so they do have a shorter attention span. And so it is that as a component and not ADHD. But in my lovely case, I was diagnosed at a very young age. And I also, just dealt with a lot of other things. And so one of the things for me, being dyslexic and not knowing that I was dyslexic until my children got diagnosed with dyslexia. And then that showed me that maybe I should get diagnosed with that and go talk to someone because I think the same way they do and read the same way they do. So I just thought that was normal. And I know a lot of moms and dads probably go through that where you think, well, this is just normal. This is all that I've known, until you realize, well, maybe we're all just uniquely different. And so we have to figure out what that looks like. But I had asked for help, and I wasn't great at asking for help in school because I never wanted to look stupid in front of my peers. I think growing up, we all care about what people think about us, whether we say we do or we don't. We do. We care. We care if we have a pimple on our face and we're like mad that we can't cover it. I went to a school where you weren't allowed to wear makeup. They would literally hand you a makeup wipe and make you go wipe off your face if they suspected you even had concealer on. And so, I just remember not raising my hand because I thought everyone was just so much smarter than me. And so I would rather struggle in silence and pretend like I understood, or count the kids that were in front of me with raging anxiety, trying to quickly practice my paragraph of reading. So I would hopefully not get it wrong out loud. But it was math specifically where I was so lost. I mean, I had already missed so many important building blocks of math. And we all know once, you miss some of those, you're just kind of screwed as it goes on. And so I had asked somebody in my life that was a figure that, I should have been able to turn to. And in my own, private space, I said, I'm really having a hard time with this math. I don't understand it. You're really good at this. Is this something you can help me with? And so kind of flustered, they sat down with me as if I was already a burden. And I was really big on energy growing up. I could pick up on everybody's energy. I would read it like the back of my hand. And I already was like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. But here we are. So just sit down at the table. And I remember them just quickly doing the math and me watching them just so effortlessly writing out these answers. And they would go, you did this, this, and this. Do you get it now? And I'm like, no, I don't understand. And they're like, well, what don't you understand about it? And I didn't know. What don't I understand? Why is my brain not computing to this information right now? They're showing me, why don't I understand? But I wasn't saying that out loud. I was just saying, no, I don't get it. I don't understand. And so they kept getting worked up with me and they kept showing me, but in the same way. In my brain, you're telling me the same exact thing over and over and it's not working. And they snapped on me and they were like, are you an effing idiot? I can't say the word on here, but are you an effing idiot? Are you stupid? Are you dumb? What don't you get about this? And I remember immediately feeling so small and wanting to just climb into a hole and never come out, and holding back tears because in my eyes, like, you're just weak if you show these type of people, that you're crying. And I flipped and I said, you know what? No. I see where I went wrong. I get it. I get it now. And they're like, you do? Yeah. No, thank you so much for showing me this. I get it. I can't believe I missed that. And I grabbed my papers and I walked away and I sobbed in my room for so long because I just thought, you're an idiot. Like, you're so stupid. Like, I let these words be so true over my life that it carried in so many different areas. And so anytime I wanted to go try to do something or think, I'd go, you're an idiot. Don't do that. You're stupid. You're dumb. You're not qualified for that. Who do you think you are? And I never really realized it was that definitive moment in my life that put so many like harmful words in my own head. But when I was in therapy, I just remembered, but is it true? Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not an idiot. And when I saw professionals and I realized the way that my brain was wired, that my brain is wired differently, but different doesn't mean less. And it wasn't my fault as a child that I was being treated as less than because my brain was different. And so knowing what I know now as a mom, our children, they're all neurodivergent, all in their own uniquely different ways. And so they all have to be taught a different way and all different components in life. And so I can't just teach my one kid how to do math one way because the other one doesn't see it that way. It's not that it's wrong. It's just they see it with a different lens. And so when it comes to social media, I have to remind myself that when people come on there and they start saying super hurtful words to me, like, you're an idiot, are you dumb? What do you mean you're 36 and you need to use chat GPT to reverse engineer XYZ for you? I have to remind myself, number one, is it true? It's not true. Number two, I remind myself that my brain is different, but it doesn't make it less. And number three, I have to remind myself that a person who's going to be so hurtful behind a keyboard was probably having someone say hurtful things to them like I was as a child. Because as I got a little bit older, I started that negativity and self-talk towards other people in my head. So when I saw them kind of do something that I thought, are you an idiot? Like, what are you like? Because it's contagious, right? And because hurt people, I know it's so cliche, but hurt people hurt people. And so I just have to remind myself that there are so many people walking around in this world with a high ACE score, which is an adverse childhood experience test. And people who have a score of 4 or more, they are more prone and more likely to just not be a nice person because they were hurt as a kid and that's not their fault. And so I quickly, within a matter of seconds, go, I have empathy for that person. That must really suck to have to live a life like that, where you can say such a hurtful and cruel thing to a person that you don't even know. Gosh, I wish you healing. That's what I hope for you, is I hope healing, because I am such a better person being healed and going through therapy and realizing I am not somebody else's pain. I am not somebody else's trauma. They may have projected that onto me, but I don't have to receive that. So no, thank you. And then I just move on with my life and I just choose to not let it bother me. And I make another video. And honestly, where my ADHD really comes into like a great benefit with being a content creator, I forget. So like, I just forget that like I accidentally had a video that hit 10 million people last week and people were being really mean. I just forget. And I just keep posting videos. And so at the end of the day, like, joke's on them. Because like, I made a couple $1,000s from that video and it was because you were being mean to me. So like, thank you. Like, seriously, that is so kind of you. Like, you didn't even realize how kind you were by being mean. That is so kind. My bank account thanks you. So like, that's how I choose to look at it.
Oh my gosh, I freaking love you. And again, I'm like, dang, I wish I had that forgetfulness sometimes, because I'm one of those who I see something and I think about it for, days, weeks will go by and I'm still like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that, or could I have said that, or right? Like, I have all those things that just play on repeat. I would love that, that forgetfulness sometimes. But also, I got to go back and just say this, because who isn't using Chat GPT to make their life better these days?
Right? Like, who would not want a robot to be like, let me brain for you for a second. I understand you're overstimulated and yours isn't quite working. Let me help you. It's fantastic. There's this tool. This is the one that I posted like 2 weeks ago that went like mega viral. It's called goblin.tools. It is so cool. Like, the example I was giving was like, how to clean my 8-year-old's room. I wasn't asking for me, but people on the internet were like, how do you not know how to clean a room? I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys. But it's just such a cool tool for people who need steps broken down for them. So, because, honestly, I'm going to out myself. You know what sometimes happens to me? I'm like, oh, I need to clean my daughter's room. And I walk up there and I'm like, these walls would look really good purple. I paint the walls purple before I even clean the room. Like, that's why sometimes I need a robot to tell me what to do. It's not because I don't know how to do it. I'm going to steer away from the plan because my brain is so uniquely special. So do you think GPT says on the first 5 steps, paint the walls? No, it's like pick up the trash, take out the clothes that don't fit the kid anymore, put things away. And as long as I'm following the list, I'm not going to paint the walls that day. So like lifesaver for me. It's amazing, but it's free if you use it like on an internet browser. And then there's an app that's like 99 cents that you can buy, but it wasn't sponsored. Everybody swore it was like this mastermind marketing thing. And I was like, no, like I was just wondering where Goblin Tools had been my whole life, but it had just come out in May. So that's where it had been. It was new. That's why I didn't know about it, but now you know.
Now you know. So speaking of tools, if a mom is listening to this, or a dad, but probably a mom, if a mom is listening to this with kiddos and they're neurodivergent and they're trying to figure out, okay, what are some first systems, right? They want to start implementing to try to make life a little bit easier. What are like the first 1 or 2 things that you did that you think is the most helpful that someone could start doing today?
Yeah, a lot of things I did, I didn't even realize I was doing it. So like when I look back at my life, I'm like, oh my gosh, I started that so young with the boys. But it was because I didn't realize I was creating a system. I didn't realize what I was doing. I was just trying to make life better because my husband was deployed 10 months out of every year. So I was, I wasn't a single parent, but I was solo parenting. And so in my mind, I'm like, we got to fix this or I'm going to screw these kids up and they're going to need a lot of therapy too. I mean, they might still need therapy. Let's be real. Like I'm a tornado to live with. So like in some capacity, we all need it. It's fine. But at least they can say that they know their mom loved them with like immense amount of love. I hear it now. My mom, she did her best. She always tried and I did. So you know what? A for me. But starting out, I kind of have this philosophy with our kids is I say, number one, we're a team. So you're never alone in any of this because when you're neurodivergent, you really do feel alone. You feel isolated. You feel like you're the only one who's this incompetent. You feel like you're the only one who can't get your life together. And so from a very young age, I didn't do it for the neurodivergent, component of it. I did it because my husband was alone. So I was like, we're a team, go team, because I couldn't do it alone. And so I love that we did do that though, because now what I know about neurodivergence and us feeling alone, we don't in this house. We all communicate with each other. We all talk about how we're feeling. And so I would say if you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated, your whole house feels frazzled, number one, communicate as much as you can and communicate about feelings. Normalize being overwhelmed. Normalize being overstimulated. Normalize that it's okay if your space was just perfect last week and now it's causing you extreme anxiety. Normalize talking about that and letting it be okay so you can seek the solution to the problem together so you don't feel like you're doing it alone, because body doubling when you're neurodivergent is just such a beautiful thing. Body doubling is when you need to clean, let's say I need to clean the kitchen, and let's say my oldest, he needs to get some homework done. If you leave us both alone to our own devices, we may not get that done. But if we're in the same space as someone else and we've held each other accountable to say, I need to do this thing, cool. You sit at the kitchen table and do that. I'm going to be in the kitchen doing this. We can chat, communicate a little bit here and there, but for the most part, let's hold each other accountable that we're both going to get this done. And because our energy is sharing the same space, we both get done what we need to get done. So I would say start there. But then my second biggest thing is don't overwhelm yourself. We go from 0 to 100 faster than Drake does himself. So we want to tackle it all. We want to go from like, I don't want to do anything but watch murder mystery shows to I want to manically clean my whole house. But the problem is because we do that, we burn out so much faster than someone who's neurotypical because they can pace themselves. They're for the most part, every day, their day looks the same. They've got the habits and the routines. And what do they have to be stressed about? I love you, neurotypical people. But for us, it's like we're a yo-yo. We're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. And so for me, I just emphasize, let's just try to get 1% better. Let's try to focus on one thing that we can habit stack. Because if we can nail, for example, when they were really little, if we can nail hygiene, if it can become routine where I don't have to remind you to take a shower, you just take a shower every single day, you brush your teeth every single day, right? It's simple things that neurotypical people probably listening are like, huh? Like, I can't relate. Like, I don't have to tell myself every single day to brush my teeth because that's just something that you do to be hygienically clean. But when you're neurodivergent, you're constantly reminding yourself every day. Every day, my brain tells myself, go brush your teeth because that's what you're supposed to do. Not because I feel like I have to, but because I have to tell myself that's what hygienic people do, go brush your teeth. And so I've got really great hygiene habits, but I had to teach myself that in my early 20s because I didn't have it as a kid. And so with our kiddos, 1%. So I'd say focus on one thing, have that visual reminder. For me, it was Post-it notes written everywhere of what that looked like. And then until I felt like I no longer needed to read a Post-it note to do the thing, then I could have it stack and I could add something else on. So that's why I say with our kids, it was always me creating like little picture boards, and I would put Velcro on the back of things. And so they would put their Velcro on the thing that they did to kind of check it off. And we'd focus on 5 things at a time as we were doing our evening routine. And then I'd flip it over and we'd have our morning routine. So I love now that like my house in the mornings, if you were a stranger coming here, you would think that we are all on autopilot, that like we wouldn't even have to speak with each other. But everybody knows the task that they're supposed to be doing because it is now so deeply ingrained in us that, yes, we're thinking it in our head. We're telling ourselves like, okay, step 3, I remember that block. I need to go take my medicine. Step 4, I need to go eat my breakfast. Like we're reminding ourselves, but we've stacked those habits and built them up over time. So give yourself grace. It doesn't happen overnight, but focus on the 1%.
Yeah. And you are so creative. Like when you talk about this, the scheduling and I just watched a couple of your TikToks just a minute ago. And I know you've shared your system with the food and all of that. And then I start thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm neurodivergent and you're actually not, because that is some organization system stuff that stresses me out. I'm like, oh my gosh, how does she do that? But it's so cool. You're like, oh, and now I have food. I have food for the next 3 weeks already prepped and ready in the freezer. And I'm like, what? That is super cool. And feel free to come to my house anytime and do that for me. But no, but you're so creative when it like comes to all of this stuff, which is why so many people benefit from following you, because your brain is so creative and comes up with all these cool things that other people's brains don't, which allows them to be like, oh, how could I make that my own? Or when you have things that you can, you start selling and sharing with people, like they naturally are going to be like, man, I need that in my life because I need that in my life. And I don't have kids and I'm not neurodivergent, or I've not been, tested for that. But anywho, you have great systems. So for those of you listening, go check out, you just want them to go to your TikTok, right?
Yeah, I don't have my life together enough, Danielle, to have a website or to have like a newsletter. I've told myself like a million times because everybody's like, can we have merch? Can we have this? I'm like, yeah, that sounds so fun. Who's gonna do it? Because I'm not. It's been a little over a year, and they're still asking me, and I'm like, we want like ADHD jackets with patches. So fun. Do you think I've sketched out like 15 patches? Absolutely. Do you think I've like executed doing any of it? No. Why? That's not fun. Like I need somebody else to do that. Like I jokingly say I need a life manager, but like I would be unstoppable. If I had a life manager that kept me in line, that would be amazing. But like instead I cut holes in my wall underneath the stairs because I'm like, I wonder if I know carpentry enough to like build a little cat house under here. It took me 2 months to finish it, but it is fire. They even have a disco ball, but like still no merch.
But that's what I love so much about you, because I'm standing here literally looking at my walls that have like nothing on them. I don't do anything fun and fancy in my house because I'm just so boring and lame. And you're over here making cat things.
If you need a hole, I now know how to create it. Well, if it's a structural wall, I can't help you there. I just crossed my fingers that it wasn't. Like, please don't take my house down. And so I just had to build like a new header and like do all these fun things with drywall and it's so cute. You should see it the next time you come over. It's not even honestly for my cats anymore because Nora likes it as like her own little Harry Potter, like under the stairs nook. So I was onto something because when she's overstimulated, that's where she likes to go decompress. And so it's a solution I didn't even know that I was making. But that's how my brain works. When you say like my brain's creative, I will give my brain that is like, that is one of my strengths, is that it can be very creative when I need to solve a problem. But that problem I have to hyperfixate on for a really long time and then go, how do I reverse engineer this to where this makes sense in our lives? And then once I do it, it's amazing and it's awesome. But like the rest of my life is still falling apart. So there's only some things that work really well. But then like if I have to pick up a stranger in my van, you might find a chicken nugget from 3 months ago. Like I'm just like, it's a mess. But again, I've learned to just embrace that and go, I cannot be so awesome in all of these areas. I can only be so cool in a couple of them. So like the rest of it, take it. This is me. Like you're going to have to just embrace it, because I literally have tried to be different my whole life with masking, and you can do it for a period of time where you can appear to have it all together, but at your own expense of your mental health will that happen.
And I just have to point this out. Can we just not pick up strangers in our van?
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes I still do want to because I feel bad. I'm like, I have a perfectly capable vehicle right now, and they look like they could use a ride. But then I listened to too many like crime junkie podcasts, and I'm like, that's how you die.
Right.
So I don't. But when I also mean strangers, because I have a teenage boy, do you know how many strange kids? Not well, yeah, they are kind of a little bit weird, some of them. And I love them for that. I love everyone that's weird because I'm weird. But I'll just go to pick up my son, and then they see me rolling. There's like a whole crew. I'm like, hey guys. They're like, hey, Noah's mom, can you take a sure? So I have like 6 kids. I'm like, guys, if you see food, don't eat it. Like just kick it to the side. So I feel better when some of them are like, yeah, my mom's man looks like this. Like we should be friends. But then also, you already know how this goes. I'm terrible at being a friend. I don't really text people back, and I'm kind of antisocial sometimes. So like in my mind, that would be fun. But then I'm like, just don't tell her about this, okay? And then I see you later, guys. So that's kind of what I mean by strangers. They're just like smelly teenage boys that just, I don't know them, but I take them to their homes. So I still don't know their names, but I know where they all live. Sounds really creepy.
I was about to say I can approve of this stranger then, but then you said that, and now it's just weird.
What's weird to me because I've never talked to their moms, but like I'm taking your kid home like 3 times a week. Like I think I'm just like too much of an anxiety parent. Again, I listen to too many crime podcasts. You are not getting in the vehicle with someone that I don't know. Like my kids just know. Don't you dare get into another parent's car that I do not know. You call me and I will come pick you up. And if I can't pick you up, I will arrange a ride for you. I love the trust that they must have in me. I must have this like, I look like you're safe. So, or maybe other parents just don't have anxiety like I do. But again, it blows my mind how much I've taken some of these kids home, never met their parents. It's fine, it's cool, but like they're safe with me. But like again, like whoa, that just stresses me out.
Oh, you're the cool mom. All right. So all of this has been so good. Thank you for being here. But before we go, we have rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Always ready for rapid fire.
Okay. What are the main things that are on your For You page or your homepage?
TikTok trying to tell me that I'm autistic 24/7. It's trying to diagnose me as I'll be having, and I'm like, honestly, I might be. I don't know. At this point, tack it on. Like my doctor's list, every time I go, they're like, oh yeah, you're hypermobile. Yeah, you have it. Oh, cool. Okay. So that's my FYP. It's all neurodivergence, and it's all these things that people who have autism talk about that like they struggle with. And so I'm like, won't know that that's what it is. And they'll be like, put a finger down. And I find my ass with no fingers. And then they're like, you might be autistic if you put down 4. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it's fine. So I don't know, but that's my FYP currently at the moment.
Got it. Okay. So we don't do cheat meals around here, but if you had one treat meal that you can have for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Food. Because every food is a treat for me. I just eat.
Okay, this is your last. Listen, you got to play along. This is your last meal ever. What is the one thing?
Everyone has died. It's just me. But there is somehow a 5-star chef that still exists on the island.
Yes. And you can have whatever you want. What is one thing you're choosing?
That's very hard. Oh my gosh. Okay. I know I said I like rapid fire, but I don't, because how would I know what mood I'm in at that given time? My favorite food changes all the time.
Today, if you could choose anything to eat right now, what would you choose?
Oh, easy, because I'm on my period, so I'm lacking iron. I would choose a steak with mashed potatoes, corn, and some French style green beans.
That sounds like a delicious meal. Thank you for answering the question.
Medium, cooked medium.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is this ordered from a specific restaurant or just at home or?
The one chef that's still alive with me on the Survivor Island.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know if this was a special meal that you get somewhere that you enjoy.
No, he's just really good. He's my husband, but I have to pretend in this scenario that he's not, but he cooks more than I do. So it's my husband, but I don't know he's my husband, because if it was just the two of us left on an island, we would start to like recreate the world. You know what I'm saying? So then like I wouldn't have to choose the last meal because, well, you're welcome. I just saved the whole earth.
Okay. I love how we got to like your favorite meal through this whole journey of being on an island with your husband, but he's not allowed to be your husband. It was great.
Yeah. I was trying to stick with the rules, but they changed.
What's one movement or exercise that you enjoy that makes you feel powerful?
Walking every single day. If I could show you right now, right below my little toesies, I have a walking pad in my office, and it's because I am a content creator and I do work from home. And so because sometimes I don't leave a lot, I want to walk as much as I can and get the energy out of my body. So I clock about 10 miles a day while I'm walking and working. And it just makes me feel so much better than just like sitting in a chair and being stagnant and hunching over. And I don't know, I just feel good. Walking is underrated. Like it's the only thing that keeps me in a healthy BMI range, which we won't even talk about BMIs, but it keeps me in a healthy place.
I love it. I actually almost bought one of those the other day because of you. One day I will get one.
Love them.
Okay, you can only watch one show the rest of your life. Which one do you choose?
Something about people being murdered so I can solve it.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What does being pretty powerful mean to you?
Pretty powerful to me would mean only caring about what I think and not what other people think, because I know deep down I am powerful. And I know that as long as I listen to myself and not the critics or anyone else that doesn't have my best interest at heart, then I will always remain powerful. It's when I let other people take my powerful parts of me that make me feel that I'm not. But again, that's not true. So I just lean into what is true.
I love that. Who is one powerful woman that has inspired you in your life?
Oh, well, she's no longer here with us, but it would have to be, she wasn't necessarily a teacher of mine, but she was towards the end of my life. Her name is Mrs. Perna. And she was the whole reason why I graduated high school. I was someone who was about to drop out and not make it due to circumstances that I couldn't control in my life. And she stepped in and was like, nope, not on my watch. You're not going to fail because I think you're too great to do that. And so she homeschooled me the last couple of months of my senior year of high school in a house that I paid for all by myself at 18. And she wrapped me Tim Hortons coffee every single day that she would show up. And she was tough. She was hard. She took no BS, even when I wanted to have a sob story, because it was sad. But she wouldn't, she'd play the tiny violin for a second and go, no, we're going to get to work. So, feeling sorry for ourselves isn't going to achieve anything, but getting to work and doing the things that are hard will. So she passed away from cancer, and it was a huge honor to me to find out that I was one of her student success stories for her eulogy at the high school, which was really hard for me to do, because I had to stand in a place that I had a lot of pain. And I just reminded myself that sometimes good things come from that pain because we show ourselves how powerful we are. So it was a pretty cool full circle moment for me that she thought highly of me as much as I thought highly of her. But yeah, definitely left a very lasting impact on me.
I love that. If there was one powerful piece of advice you would leave for your daughter, what would it be?
Gosh, there's so much. Chase joy. Just chase it and choose it, because this world, I feel like, is so incredibly difficult for women. And I have boys. And so it's not that I know that they've got it easy, but for women, we are pulled in a million different directions. And so joy is whatever joy means to you. So I'm never going to put the pressure on my daughter to create grandbabies for me. I'm never going to put the pressure on her of one day when you get married. I'm never going to put the pressure on her, you're going to climb the corporate ladder. I'm just going to put the pressure on her to always choose joy. And what does joy mean to you in your life? And if what you want to be is a mom and that's all you want to be and that's joyful for you, I can't wait to celebrate you in that. But if you choose to not have kids because a life of independence is joyful for you, I love that for you. And I'll take trips with you and I'll go, shoot, take me to Italy, like, wherever we want to go. But I think women have a lot of pressure to do and be everything all at once while being told that we're not really great at any of it because we also do too much. And so there's this scene that was in the Barbie movie as I'm watching it and tears are streaming down my face because it's this mom who's just having her breaking moment. But it was so poetic how she laid it all out there because I felt it as a mom. And I've heard some of the same things of, well, how is your husband deployed and how do you work and how are you still a good mom and do all of that as if like, nobody bats an eye if a guy does it. They don't question him on the same things. And so for her, it would just be to chase and choose joy and whatever that looks like for her.
Yeah. I think we can all take that message and run with it. And I think we all cried during that scene in the Barbie movie. I'm just going to put that out there. What is one song that makes you feel powerful?
I do be loving my girl Taylor Swift. So gosh, though, in terms of power, I think it's Long Live. And I don't know why in terms of like a deep meaning to it, but I think it's because what I love and respect about Taylor is Taylor knew from a young age that she had something great. She knew she had something that she wanted to share, and she did that. And with the song Long Live, she talks about like, I had the time of my life fighting dragons with you. And to me, like we all make our own meaning out of songs, but like to me, fighting dragons with you is like me with my kids and fighting like hell to break generational cycles and be a different parent and give them a different life. But it is like fighting dragons because it's just like, you don't even know sometimes where to start. But she's also like talking to a generation of people and saying like, tell them my name, like tell your kids my name, remember me, like long live. And so it's just, I want to be more like Taylor, where she believes in herself so much and she believes in her words. And a lot of that gave me confidence and strength to start sharing some of my poetry that I started writing as a young kid and as a young mom, and being so scared to do that because I grew up dyslexic. My English teacher hated me and just ripped everything I wrote to shreds. And so when I shared that first poem, seeing it hit 10,000 likes and just all these compliments and people being like, oh my gosh, I'm sobbing and I love this. And then seeing people reuse some of my sounds, I'm like, okay, so my poetry doesn't suck, like it's just, be more like Taylor, believe in your work so much that you can't help but want to go on an Eras tour and sell it out and, all the things. And so yeah, I'd have to say Long Live, even though it's not like a very super dramatic song, but it is for me.
Now I have to go search for the song. I don't think I've ever heard this song before. So
Great.
I'll go listen to it after this. All right, my friend. Well, this has been a freaking powerful conversation. I know that so many people are just going to be like, number one, I love Tarah, because that's what everybody says. And number two, that I really think you just dropped some like little nuggets for people to start implementing, and the mindset and all of that, which we know the mindset is probably like is so powerful as through life, especially as women. So when people want to find out more about you, they want to hang out with you, tell them where to find you or what to do. Give them the deets.
Well, number one, if you have ADHD, you'll probably forget that I exist after this podcast, and that's fine. Hello, it's been nice while we chatted. But number two, TikTok. So my handle name is that ADHD Life, or you can also search me by Just Call Me T. My name is Tarah, but my nickname's always been just T. So you can do Just Call Me T. And I've also recently hired an assistant to repurpose me on Instagram and Facebook, where I will not actually be reading the comments. So eventually you can find me there, but for right now, TikTok.
I love it. And we will also obviously drop in the show notes the actual links so they don't have to go search it just in case the letters get messed up. So it will be there to click on and find you. Before we go, any last words if we didn't touch on anything, or you just have a message that you want to share that you want to leave for our friends listening before we say goodbye?
I was going to break out in a song, but I decided I shouldn't do that because it would be very loud and they would probably be like, oh, my ears. And I was also contemplating ending the note in my infamous British accent, which is awful, but I wish I could speak British. Thanks for hanging. That's all I got for you. Like, listen, this podcast has been pretty long for probably a lot of people. So they're either listening on 2X or they're not here anymore. So if they're not here, how do I say goodbye?
Do you need me to put this at the beginning? Goodbye, just in case you don't make it to the end.
Goodbye. This is long, but hello. Could be like Adele. Hello. I don't know if they're still here. Hello. But thank you so much if you stayed. But
well,
also goodbye.
Everybody listens on at least 2X, right? To every podcast. And a lot of times just fast forward. So maybe they fast forwarded to the end. You know, like emails. You just scroll to the bottom to see, okay, what do I really need to know?
I don't even open them half the time.
Well, there's that. Anywho, thank you, my friend, for being here. You're amazing. And I can't wait for more people to come follow you and get all the goodness and all the things that you do. So thank you for being my best friend. And thank you for being on here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to listen to other episodes myself and gather some nuggets of goodness from other people. So as always, thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye, friend.
Bye.
I'll remind you at the end of every single episode, you do not owe the world pretty, but you do owe yourself to step into your personal power because you, my friend, are a powerhouse woman. Go out and prove it to yourself.